afternoon, future game programmers, and welcome to the first tutorial from GCO on NDS game making and programming and whatever. Anyways, as you can tell by the title, this is the first NDS programming tutorial. But really today all we're going to do is set up the development system, or the SDK. This isn't the official SDK. It's just one that a bunch of homebrewers put together, and it works very, very well. I'm trying a new recording setup here. Instead of using something like that, I'm using something like that to make my computer run a little bit better and smoother. But unfortunately, that might mean that you might have to make your, window like full screen, and and change the resolution. I'm sorry for those who like to watch in low resolution on the small screen. It's just it might not be too clear what I am doing. Shouldn't make too much of a difference for this tutorial, but in future tutorials it could become a little bit of an issue. I apologize. I'll see if I can find a fix for it, but I don't think that's going to happen. Anyways, let's get right to it. So, pretty much today we're just going to be installing a bunch of stuff, and it's actually not too much. If we go to here, and this is our first window that we need to pull up, devkitpro.org, pretty easy to type in, otherwise just Google it. Ignore that creepy guy right there. He made a lot of this stuff, but we don't really care about that right now. And we're just going to hit the getting started pages. Alright, so if you are using Linux or Mac, this video goes straight from beginner to pretty much advanced or expert, because I have tried and tried and I just cannot get the setup to work on a Mac. Then again, I don't own a Mac. I just did this. I just tried on a friend's. We got really close. We got all the binary set up, but we just couldn't find a IDE to get it running. It's all about being able to run a Perl script. If you know what a Perl script is and how to run it, or know how to figure out what a Perl script is and how to run it, you might be able to get it to work on a Mac. Otherwise, the best route is to just use the Windows option, because it sets everything up for you. So that's what we're going to do. There's this Windows installer updater. We just click it, and don't be fooled by the latest version. That is not the latest version right there. This is the latest version. So you just click it, install it, run it. It automatically extracts for you and everything. If you are looking for the Perl script for the Mac, that's the one you would click right there, and it would automatically download this file, and it does some kind of like parsing trick or whatever. Anyways, hopefully you just get that, run it. If you don't know how to install this file, then I'm not sure what to tell you, because if you're that unfamiliar with computers, then programming for the NDS may be completely out of your league. Sorry. So, once you have that installed, it should look something like this folder. Maybe not so many files like I have. Like, you wouldn't have the code test, you wouldn't have this GCO USB thing, you wouldn't have the sound convert or sound project or NFlib. I'll show you how I made these other files later. But for now, that's about. You should have everything working, and you should test to see if under examples, and yes, if, ignore some of these again, if the hello world is you should be able to open up the programmer's notepad project, and I'll show you what that looks like. And you go close this out. Here's the code for it. It looks like a lot, but it's not really. Like, they even show you how to do the touchscreen stuff. You'd just be able to go to Tools, Make, and see if it can run Mine says it's up to date. If you do get errors, the first thing you should check is to see if there's something weird with like DS rules in the whole debug section. Or if it's DS rules, you have a huge issue. If it's DevKit Pro or DevKit ARM that's giving you errors about, there is a fix for that. You have to go to here, Control Panel, and we are looking for environment variables. And actually, I'm just going to pull this up in the search bar. And edit the system environment variables. Just click that. Go to environment variables. And you will see these DevKit Pros things. Notice I haven't even fixed the DevKit PPC. If you get this type of setup where you see the /c/, that is probably your issue. I had this myself. You want to switch it into this format where it says C:\/ and then change your // to backslashes like that. I'm not sure if it really matters whether it's backslash or // You just need to make sure you have the C::. That throws off a lot of people trying to get this to work. I'm working on Windows 7. Windows 8 may still have issues with this. However, we have been successful getting this to work first try on Windows 8 and Windows 8.1. But that was first try when the environment variables worked correctly. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It's kind of hard to explain. Anyways, hopefully you should be able to eventually get to the point where it creates a successful NDS file. And if you double click it, this is what the emulator looks like. This is what this looks like. See, this is just touchscreen reading, so it's a little bit fancier. That's why there are a few more lines of code than what you normally get for your basic Hello World. However, you probably can't open this yet because you don't have an emulator for it. And unfortunately, DevKit Pro and DevKit ARM, which is DevKit ARM is the kind of the builder or the tool chain for the whole NDS programming parts of it, because the NDSU uses ARM processors. I'll go into that later when I go into like the hardware stuff for doing animation, but that's a long ways off yet. Anyways, you don't have an emulator for this yet, and DevKit Pro does not come with one. So either you can go and try and download one yourself, or we can just download the next tool that we will be using a bunch, like a ton, for making like graphics easier. We'll be using it even before we get into animation stuff. And that actually does come with the emulators. And that would be Nightfox Library, or NFlib, as you saw the one folder, or this is kind of like the splash screen for it. That'll be like our first tutorial in animation such, and this handles a ton of 2D graphic stuff. Tile backgrounds, sprites, 256 color, a text engine, sound, ignore that. We're going to use something a little bit different. I'll show you that later. It's called MaxMod. Collision maps. This can be really useful when you're programming like a 2D platformers or something like that. Usually I end up liking to just do coding away from collision maps, as in like I code using a different structure rather than collision maps to detect collision, but that's up to you. That's up to you guys how you want to do it. The feature's there, it works well. He has examples of it. Yeah, this whole library comes with like 30 plus examples right here. They're ready to compile and try out. The 8 16-bit backgrounds, yeah, it's pretty handy. You can even load like BMP picture files. And then he even has like a 3D sprite engine. These are not 3D models. This is just sprites in 3D space, which you can use. Usually, yeah, I'm not going to say anything. We're trying to figure out whether we can make this library work with a 3D library. No luck yet. Anyways, it also comes with documentation. Keep in mind that this is mostly that the guy who did this speaks Spanish. This is a translation right here. Um, he has a copy of English documentation, but all his examples, the comments are written in Spanish. Luckily, the library itself, like the function names, are written in English because NDS is written in English, and that's the main library that's like the base library the NDS uses that comes with DevKit ARM. This is just a library. This is just like a wrapper library that goes over it. I know I'm throwing out a ton of crazy terms at you, but you'll eventually figure out what a lot of this stuff means. But for now, just click on this. You'll go to SourceForge and make sure you get the 0409 and 2013. If you can't tell, that's month, day, year. And this is a 7Z file. You'll want to make sure you have an extractor that can open it. I personally use JZip because I think it's small and light, and apparently I don't have it on my desktop. But you can use 7-zip. There's plenty of free ones out there that you can get. Just make sure you get this file right here. Just download it, and all you have to do is extract it to the DevKit Pro based folder. And one thing I forgot to tell you about is when you're installing DevKit Pro, make sure that there's no space in the directory's name. If you're going into like your user libraries, you're risking the fact that there might be a space in it, depending on if there's a space in your username. Documents is actually my documents, or yeah, see if I can pull that up. Users, see I have a space in my username, fortunately. And next, like my videos, my pictures, my music, my documents, those all have spaces in it, so you shouldn't be using those, or you could just change the name, but I don't know if I would do that. Anyways, usually most people just install it right on the folder of their C drive. And see, Nightfox Library is right in here. If you go into it, you'll see just a template file, not the CPP template and C template. I'll show you guys how to make that, possibly in the next video. The docs. This is where you find the English manual and it's written fairly well. There's a couple things he doesn't cover, such as how to work with back buffers and stuff. That's a topic we'll get into later on, if ever, not even sure. Yeah, I'm throwing out a lot of terms again. Examples, and this is what matters. He has over 30 examples of all the stuff he does. Demos is like some really fancy stuff he gets to do. Graphics shows you all the different graphics works. Some of them are a little hard to understand. He has 3D sprite examples, collision map examples, media examples using BMP files, miscellaneous, that's just language reading. Sound, we're not even going to be using that. And then text. He has a couple different text examples. And extras, oh, that's the Wi-Fi. I haven't even learned how to use that yet, so don't ask me about it. makefiles. For getting started, basically, this is the makefile you want in NitroFS. This is the one we started with. We eventually edited it to make it work with our new sound system, but we mostly use this, so make sure you carry that into all your projects whenever you make them. The template files, the C template is actually the template you guys come with. You'll notice you have your source code, the main.c right there. There's a ton of comments and stuff in it. You can just kind of clean that out. I'll go through that next tutorial. But the key is for all these examples, and even the templates, that always comes with a clean.batch file and compile.batch file, and it comes with just this basic icon and make file. This make file you can actually just get rid of and replace with the NitroFS one, which I think this one might actually be the NitroFS one. Not sure. Anyways, that's your icon, and the nice thing about this is you can compile without having to create a programmer's notepad project. So you can just double click this file in each of the examples. So if I go to this, I can just double click the compile and it'll create the NDS file, and it looks something like this. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Anyways, okay, those balls are glitching out a little bit. Huh. It runs a little smoother on when I'm not trying to record it. So, the last thing you want to know about, well, first of all, that's the library itself. If you ever want to look at like the code, you can look in there. My tools, that's a folder I made. But the tools folder has some really useful things. Splash screens, this is where you can find some awesome splash screen stuff to make some really cool, I don't know, you can just make some awesome like game intros or whatever. They're just files. It's best to use them if you're doing anything with animation. The Homebrew Menu, basically this is how you would run your games on an actual DS, with like a flash card or something. The one that you want, I believe, is this hbmenu.nds. Usually if you can just copy this one, I use an R4, so I just copy this one onto here and I just load up this file, which brings me a menu that allows me to run my actual homebrew games. Sometimes you can just copy like all of this and remove whatever setup is normally in there, but you guys can research that yourselves. Grit, this is our graphics conversion stuff. I'll show you guys that later when we get into like backgrounds, which will be before animation. And then this is the one you guys were all waiting for. These are the emulators. Desmu. If you're gonna use this one, make sure you use the dev version, so you can tell it to make this the default. You guys can figure out how to do that. And then no money GVA, that's what it is. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. So just play with the examples. You've got Nightfox examples. You've got DevKit Pro examples. If you're getting that weird DS rules thing, that's only for the DevKit ARM examples. It should not affect the Nightfox examples, because Nightfox does things a little bit differently, which I really, really like, because I have the weird DS rules issue, and Nightfox gets me around that, which is awesome. Anyways, hopefully that covers installing and everything. I'm sorry, I'm a little winded today. Yeah, just a little bit. Anyways, next tutorial I'll show you guys how to set up your templates and make your own like project, file, whatever, to get started into your own code and your own game. So, until then, see you guys later, and I'll probably post the links to everything I did in the description section, so, or I might post it right on the video. I'm not sure what I'll do. You guys will see it. So until the next video comes out, see you guys later.